do you think would be a fair trade package for Shelby Houlihan, assuming you can only trade her to other US based training groups?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. We understand that training groups don't really have any future assets. And I feel like someone like Shelby Houlihan is going to have to involve some what we would call picks in the NBA. So
Yeah.
let's assume that a training group can own the rights to future NCAA champions in any event. So say you could package athlete A and B on your roster plus 3 NCAA champions in the 1500 in 2021 through 2022 or whatever. So what would be your package that you think is a fair trade value for Shelby Houlihan? I bring up Shelby Houlihan because I feel like she's probably the most expensive. She's like the James Harden right now that everyone is trying to trade for, right? So should I go first? I can tell you who I would package.
Yeah.
I think Molly Huddle and Emily Sisson plus 2 future NCAA 1500 meter champions for Shelby Houlihan.
Jeez. That's a lot. That you're giving up a ton there. Molly Huddle and Emily Sisson?
And I think Jerry does that because he has a lot of depth in the 15 and the 5K on his roster. But throwing in Huddle and Sisson, you're back in the marathon game. Amy Craig is getting old. So you're back in the marathon game. You're back in the 10K game. And 2 future NCAA 1500 meter champions. Who knows who pops up to kind of replace Shelby in the 2024 trials. So I think Jerry would win that trade.
I think it's good headlines for both teams. I mean, you look at Ray Tracy's group there. That's what I was looking for. I mean, his group goes from the quiet, Providence-based, solid but no glitz and glamour group to now you have the best distance runner in the country and one of the three or four best 1500 meter runners in the world. One of the best 5 to 7 5,000 meter runners in the world, and she can also do other things that adds a lot of pop to that group, even if that group is completely decimated at that point. And then you're right, Jerry gets that depth. Maybe a change of scenery is good for Molly Huddle, who's been fantastic, but hasn't been able to break through for a medal. Maybe Jerry says, here's some things we can tinker with on the marathon side to, really get you to figure that distance out. And then you really unlock Emily Sisson, perhaps. And you say, Emily, here, we're going to pick a distance for you. It's marathon all the time. And, perhaps that really just gets those two going, and they can make one more run at 2024 for the trials and really run some times that can challenge some American records in the meantime. So I like that. And you said 2 futures access to signing. 2
future NCAA 1500 meter champions.
Okay. So then, that sets up Ray Tracy's group, right, for having some training partners for Shelby Houlihan. So that's good. I mean, she's going to be a little lonely for the first couple years or first year or so, but that's a good trade. It's a lot to give up. But if Bowerman Track Club's going to deal with giving up Shelby Houlihan a year after, given the 2 years she's just had
in her prime,
you have to expect a lot in return.
I like to see the first day of practice with Molly Huddle and Emily Infeld and see how that goes down. If there's any,
it has been 5 years, but might be a little weird.
Might be a little weird. There might be some I like to see that first training session and see if there's any one stepping of the other. If someone pulls up, imagine Molly Huddle's in her final rep and it's kind of just cruising through the finish line, and Emily Infeld just does another lean on that final 5th mile.
It's a habit. Sorry, it's a habit. I can't break it. Okay, so here's what I came up with. A lot simpler, but I think you get back the instant medal contender that you're looking for if you're giving up Shelby Houlihan. I'm going to the Bossard group. If I'm dumping off Shelby Houlihan at age 27, I want Emma Coburn and Danny Jones in return. So you get the future of Danny Jones. Again, maybe a change of scenery. Her rookie year wasn't as strong as we thought. Now it was a pandemic, broken up season, so who knows? But she obviously has that potential as a cross champ, as a champion on the track. And then you get Emma Coburn, who's basically guaranteed to get a medal for the next few years. I know she's 30 now, but she's still a major player in the steeplechase. So arguably you're getting back a better medal threat than Shelby Houlihan, just in the fact of the competitiveness of the 15 and the 5. And Houlihan's never won a medal, and obviously we've got 3 in the cupboard there for Emma Coburn, and she's a world champion. But she's a few years older, and Houlihan really probably has, more runway left in her career. So, and then you have to throw in Danny Jones, I think, as well, just because, again, the future of Houlihan looks a little brighter. I think that gets the job done. Now, the issue here gets a little complicated when you talk about Joe Bosshard trading away his wife to Jerry Schumacher. Hey, that's a little awkward. That's tough. That's gonna be a tough sell.
It's business, man. It's business, baby. It's business. This is what I'm thinking about. How will Courtney Frerichs and Colin Quigley feel about this deal? Because this kind of reminds me of the Sixers, Joel Embiid, seeing Elton Brand trade for another guy who does his position in Al Horford. Are we going to have an Al Horford, Joel Embiid situation with having 3 steeplers all on the same team? I don't think Courtney Frerichs and Colin Quigley are going to be too happy about this deal. They might ask for if this deal happens, we might a year from now them seeing Frerichs and Quigley on the trade block because they're unhappy. And then maybe they have to flip those two.
They're starting to leak to Jonathan Galt that they're unhappy.
Yeah.
They're looking for other destinations. Again, I think the first major roadblock we can't overlook is the fact that Joe Bosshard would be agreeing to a trade to ship his wife out of his own house and to Portland. So that's an impediment to this trade. But you're right, that's a stockpile of steeplers that they don't necessarily need. Maybe a higher chance of getting the American record, though. First woman breaking 9 minutes if they have all those women together and they can run those team events like they did this past summer. So maybe you get somebody run, you add more to the fire here, and it's going to bring out the best in everyone. So